Right, my story. What should I talk about? I mean, I've got ghost stories and everything I could tell you about. But I don't know what you'll be interested in. It started at the beginning with me. How I got into this, my history, and so on and so on. First of all, I'll say I never say anything for kind of people to feel sorry, pity, or anything like that. My life is my life. I've led it and I've enjoyed it. And it's not a come clean or anything like that. So, it's not kind of clearing my heart or anything like no therapy or anything. I'm just letting people know about me because I see people on YouTube and I know so much about their lives and, where they live. Some people lost dogs, some people lost partners, some people lost relatives. And I see them pour their hearts out and I never really talk about myself. I kind of give snippets. So here you go. I led a very hard life, and that's not, again, as I say, not for sympathy. It's just to be talk about fact. My father was a very hard man, very violent man. My mother was very unloving as well. We didn't celebrate Christmases or, parties or anything like that in our house. If you were alive, you should be grateful. That was the attitude. My father was an Irishman. He was a strong Republican. He supported the Irish Republican Army, which was known as the IRA at the time. He came from an area that was very close. I won't give details or anything, just in case it embarrasses anyone or causes any grief. He's long gone. He's passed away, and his father's passed away. But there's still family members, probably still alive, ancestors and all that. So he was very hard, very violent, very aggressive from day one. I mean, I can look back even in my early years at 4 and 5, going to school with bruises on my face and around my neck. And I know today it wouldn't happen, would it? You'd be jailed or, social service would have took me away. But them days, sadly, I remember teachers stopping me and asking me to come into another room and looking at the bruises and then sending me back out of class, and nothing ever happened. No visits from police, no visits from any kind of welfare services or anything. My mother was very timid. She was very scared of him. I defended her for many years, thinking, poor thing, and all this. But I realised after a while that, sadly, she was a person that seemed to accept the violence. Even though she complained about it and looked terrified at times, she seemed to accept it. She never wanted to leave it. So, now going how I got into this, I would be about 10, 12. I'd run away from home. And we'd live in different parts of the country, but I'd always kind of run away to... There's ways of jumping on trains them days. Not like now, everything's so strict. You could get on railway stations, just walk on. And I used to jump on trains. I pretend I was a train spy, go into this. I'd get the books and everything, and I literally got chatting to people. Them days, train spotting was not an anorak kind of thing. It was a thing that kids did, and to keep themselves busy. And it was quite a very busy thing, and there was some lovely locomotives to look at and all that. So as I say, I'd go on the station with a train spotting book. I'd do a bit of train spotting, mix with people, and then I'd jump on a train and end up in London. To get away from my father and the violence, I just couldn't take anymore. And don't forget, I'm 9 and 10. Now, how do you survive down in London? That's a good question. I'm not going to lie. Them days, milk would be delivered at people's doorsteps. I'd nick the milk off the doorsteps. I'm proud of it, but you're doing things to survive. You're only 9 and 10. And I would actually steal chocolate and things like that out of shops, supermarkets and all that. Again, I got away with it. I was very lucky. But again, I'm not condoning it. It's wrong. But the situation was, I was trying to survive. And also, you would get people approach you for wrong reasons and offer to buy you food, like a meal. And it was a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous thing. Many a time I'd get the meal and do a runner, say I'm going to the toilet or, and do a runner. And I've had people follow me around London on the tube, trying to get hold of me, you know what I mean? And this is 9 and 10. So I did that and learnt to live in I used to sleep in the trains that were parked out on all the main line stations. Again, the police didn't care, didn't check, no one checked. You know, I'd go to like Victoria Coast Station in the old days when it had black and white coaches and all that. The old, what was that? Wallace Arnold or National Express and all that. And sleep in the back seats. I knew the button to press on the door. I'd sneak in the back seat of the bus and make sure I was up. You know, you just get into it. I know it sounds crazy at 9 or 10, but you're living to survive, you know. And I used to walk by the windows, you know. This is something, again, not for sympathy. I used to walk by the windows and see people eating food with their families, like kids and all that. And be so sitting outside the window looking in. And it was so, it's heart-wrenching, you know what I mean, to think what I was going through and seeing that. So I learned to live rough, you know, and survive. I woke up once on a bench just with my coat on, mate, and it'd been snowing and I had about a dusting of snow on me. How I survived, I don't know to this day. So I did that for a while, but every time the police would eventually catch you and return you to your parents, and of course they'd pretend in front of the police they cared and loved you and so on. But then as soon as the police were not even in the car, or even them days they would do foot patrols, not even down the bottom of the road, my father would be beating me. So, you know, it didn't work. So we chopped and changed, and I did a lot of that running away, but I always got caught. And eventually it came to like 16, just approaching that. I was doing really well and me schooling, because I loved school, because it was free school meals, and that's what kept us alive, because we had no food at home. Dinner was the old bread, you know, the bread you had to slice with a carving knife, bread knife, sorry, and it was margarine and jam, basic jam, you know what I mean, nothing cheap. That was your dinner. And I was like a runt. I was skinny, I was stalky, I was thin, I had no power at all. I looked like a I can't say the word. I looked like something starving from abroad, you know what I mean? So came 16, I wanted to be a mechanic. I couldn't be a mechanic because my dad would take all my money. He told me straight, if you earn any money, I want it. It's going to be mine. And my dad was such a violent man, I couldn't say no to him. I'm 16, built like a matchstick. He would have killed me. And many a time he nearly got there. So I decided to join the army and cleared off family. Obviously my mother and all that was upset, but I think she was more upset that I was going, you know, and leaving her to it. Not upset so much as I joined it, but him being a strong Republican, whew, you know, he said, no son of mine ever joined the army. But what I do? Join the army. So, joined the army, joined Junior Leaders Battalion, which was down in Shorncliffe. It's all shut down now. They said it was too brutal and too rough. And I did a year's training with the army. And during that time training, you get leave. But I never went home because of my dad and the violence. So I'd say to the lads, and they would say, well, you going to your parents? I'd say, yes. I'd play the game, you know, because you don't pour your heart out in the army or in the forces. Well, maybe you do now, but I didn't, and people didn't them days, you know. Kept your problems to yourself. So I'd get like I was in Shorncliffe, I'd get like a train to, I think it was Andover, or I can't remember where it was. It was to somewhere anyway, down that way, which I got with my pass. And we were living out in Yorkshire at the time. And then I'd get a change from there and I'd go to Victoria. And from Victoria, I'd come out the railway station and cross over more or less up the road to the coach station, which I knew very well from the earlier years. See, this all leads into each other. And I take backpack with me. And this is the days when backpacks were steel framed. I think I used my army, which you're not supposed to, but I used my army sleeping bag whilst I was on leave. Mess tins, things like that. I took everything, but also I had some of my gear. And what I do is go down West Country, Devon, Cornwall, go hiking. And sometimes I'd always wear like, you shouldn't again, it was against the rules, but I used to wear my denim trousers with a combat jacket. And when I was at places, if I put a thumb out, cars would stop instantly, within seconds, because I was forces. I even got a point where one night I was walking through Exeter bus station just for 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was looking for a place to doss down. I thought I'd stay in one of the shelters, you know, bus shelters, because in them days they were all wooden and like boxed shelters. And police pulled up, and said, "Oh, mate," and it was the days when the sergeants used to have stripes on their arms and all this, like a rank. Nowadays, I think they have steel ones on the shoulders, and half of them are on desk duty or whatever. But anyway, and he said, "Where are you going?" And I told him I was on leave and I was doing hiking and all that. And he said, "No problem, I can give you a room." And I said, "Where?" He says, "One of the cells." And I thought he was joking, I thought he was being serious. He says, "Can I see your ID?" And of course, top left-hand pocket, pulled out ID. He says, "Yeah, no problem, jump in the back." And lo and behold, I stopped in the police station in Exeter one night, and cell door wide open. He brought me toast and beans on toast in the morning, and he even dropped me off on the motorway, the nearest motorway, because I said I was hiking down somewhere. Can't remember, it was somewhere like Torquay, somewhere like that. And he got me out. He says, "I've got to get you up at 6 because that's when I finish, but also the inspector comes in at 7 or something like that." So that's the kind of things I used to do. And I'd also meet people on the National Trust doing the cutting of the ferns and doing the walls and all that. And this is what I'd help them with, and they'd pay me cash in hand. Since I mentioned the army, it's like that sergeant, he'd been in the forces in the police station. He'd been in the forces, and some of the people on the National Trust had got sons in the Devon and Dorset. Was it Devon and Dorset Regiment? I can't remember. I think it's been disbanded now. Anyway. So I do all these kind of things and go hiking all the way down the West Country, down, all the southwest coast. And then when it time drew close to having to return or leave, I'd jump on a coach, go back to Victoria railway station, Victoria coach station, then walk down to the railway station, jump on a train with my pass that I already had, and meet the lads on the train coming back by chance, because you always coming back in dribs and drabs. And they'd say, "You had a good time with your family and everything?" And I'd say, "Yeah." I'd lie. I'd never even been to my family, you know what I mean? So that's how I got into hiking. And it was really brought on by joining the army and doing things in the field with ponchos and, doing all the tactical stuff and all that. It was my element. I've been sleeping, as I said, the reason I'm telling you all this, it all joins, you know what I mean? I've been sleeping on benches in London with snow drifting on me. I've been sleeping in coaches, sleeping in railway carriages, you know what I mean? With their freezing temperatures and all that. When I was 9 and 10, I was running away from home. So when I joined the army and they started saying, "Right, go out on tactics," and we're in a forest and we're digging trenches and kind of got ponchos over us in the rain or whatever, I thought, this is like what I've always done. but I didn't actually dig any trenches. But you know what I mean? I was out in the elements and my body got used to it. So, and then doing the hiking, because it was part and parcel, of when I was on leave, it would keep me fit for one, but also I loved it. I met so many great people over my times. Never met a bad person. As I say, you had your denim trousers on, you shouldn't have, but I did. And sometimes I'd get stopped by an officer that was on leave, or, he'd say, "You shouldn't be in this." And I'd say, "Sorry, sir," kind of keep my mouth shut and, nod and nod. And he'd say, "Right, get home or do what you're doing, but get out of the gear, I say, "Yes, sir," And I fobbed it off, And as I say, I put my thumb out, get a lift. I got picked up by lorries. I could travel all down the West Country at them days. It was a dangerous thing to do because the IRA had threatened to do certain things to squaddies and all that. But I thought the fear was more at home than, anywhere else. So I did join my regiment, did exactly the same when I was in my regiment. Started doing hiking when I was on leave rather than go home. I don't think I saw my mother or father after about 17, 18, to be honest. You know what I mean? And sadly, they passed away. There was no love between us because of the violence and all that. And as I say, my mother was just so cold. She was, I don't know if she'd been beaten into submission or she was just cold generally. I don't know. I've never tried figuring it out. But, and then I got bored of the British Army and gone out of that and joined the Royal Marines. And started working with them in Arctic warfare, you name it, we did it, you know what I mean, and to the extremes. I loved it, but changing from the army to the Royal Marines, that was a hard thing to do because inter-service transfers don't happen. I had to sign out of the army so I could join the Marines. It was a gamble I paid off. But sadly, I got injured on active duty. I won't give you the facts. I won't give you the details. There's nothing you need to know. You know what I mean? And it was very serious injuries. You know what I mean? And I never thought I'd survive. And they said, you know, basically you're messed up for the rest of your life. Physically, this was. I didn't realise the PTSD was the one that was going to mess me up so much for many years. So what I did when I came out of hospital, and within a week or 2 weeks of coming out of hospital, I started doing hiking and running with webbing belts, because I was signed out of the forces. I was, you know, injured. The injuries were too bad to stay in the forces, so I medically discharged from the class, and they pension you off and pay you a sum of money. I'm not going to go into it all again. It's confusing. And to be honest, I blew a lot of the money that I got paid in a lump sum, because I can't even tell you what I was doing. I think I was getting drunk most of the time, and my head was scrambled from the PTSD that was kicking in. So yeah, I was running around with webbing full of sand and hiking with big packs, and my injuries hadn't healed, and doctors were saying to me, you're crazy, you're stupid, you're lucky to be alive, and you're doing this. But I was determined not to be beaten, because I knew that if I sat at home healing, I knew probably everything else would fall by the wayside, my fitness and all that. So that's basically how I got into hiking, and the reason I got into hiking, and as I say, I've done all the Arctic warfare, you name it, all the kind of specialist stuff, you know what I mean? I've done it through the Marines and all that. Again, I'm not going to go into specifics or anything, because there's no need to. So when I came out of the forces, got over the injuries, I did some police work with a dog handler, and settled down, and I stopped doing the hiking, and I thought, well, I've done my time, you know, I've done it, now I'm at home, like you do. And for a few years, you know, you have kids, don't you? You know what I mean? I had a lad, and sadly, my partner passed away with cancer. It's a long story again. And then, you know, you're kind of lost again. And the PTSD was still kicking in. I didn't know it was going off all at the same time. It went on for about 10, 20 years. And eventually I realised it was me with the problems, you know, the head problems, which was, you know, it's going to happen when you get seriously injured and gone through a hell of a lot of things. And I sorted that out. Sought counselling, talked to people, learned to open up with people, and probably I would say it's not gone. It never does go. I don't think PTSD ever goes. It makes you, it changes you as a person in character and all that, personality. But then, as I say, the relationship, sadly, my partner passed away, and I was a bit lost and going through all these kind of turmoils with the PTSD. Never bothered about hiking. And then one night I started watching videos on YouTube. I never used to watch YouTube at all, any videos. And then I started watching videos like Dean Reed, Patrick Dickinson. There was and David Gray in America, Syntax 77. There's so many, I could name them. The older ones, you know, the ones that have been going for many, many years. And I don't think they mind me mentioning that, saying that, you know, I don't mean it in a derogatory way. And when I was watching Patrick Dickinson's, it hit home, because I thought, well, I used to do that, but I didn't know it was called wild camping. And true, I always called it hiking, backpacking or whatever. I never realised it was called wild camping. So I don't know where I've been for many years, you know what I mean? So I decided to start doing it. And at the time I had German Shepherds, and I was crazy because I did upload a load of videos on YouTube, but then for some stupid reason I took them off because I never got into it enough. Sadly, I've never kept them videos, otherwise I could look back or put them on the channel. But yeah, I started doing it and carrying crazy packs again, like I was young, you know, what I used to do when I was on leave with the army and all that. I used to carry like 80, 90 pounds when I was on leave, you know, hiking the southwest coast, and I thought I could do it again. I realised, no, you're getting older, your body's getting older, you've got to change. So I got caught in some terrible thunderstorms and Kinder Scouts in some terrible weather, and I was laughing my head off. And I think that one is on YouTube, where I'm under what was it, a DD Superlight tarp set out in a kind of tent fashion, with an open door with just a ground sheet with two, I think I had Stella at the time and one of my German Shepherds. The other one had passed away. And I'm laughing my head off while there's thunder more or less flashing on us, you know what I mean? Because we're so high up on Kinder Scout, so, it seems totally different. And I got sucked in again, I went, I don't know what I've been doing all the years. I should have been doing this for a long time, And hence, I started doing the Peak District. I've done Bleak Close so many times, done Kinder Scout so many times. I've covered nearly every blade of grass on them too. But I'd done Scotland with the Army and the Marines. And used to ski in Aviemore with the Marines, doing practicing and training so that when we went over Norway, we were ready for it, you know what I mean? So I hadn't been back to Scotland for many years, hence why one Christmas I thought, instead of sitting at home going, I should do this, I should do that, I decided to do it. And that was when I did the Pimanach or Pimanesh, I can't remember how it's pronounced, one of the first ones at Christmas, and met some lovely people in the Bothy. And I was hooked to Scotland. That was it. That was the kind of place I belong. The conditions, the weather, and trust me, I meet some lovely people on the travels, and no regrets at all. And now I've integrated the bike packing, something I've never done, and I love the challenge. It's a new challenge, And trust me, I'm 62. You should be growing out of this, but no, I don't think you should. Why not? Carry on. Keeps you fit, keeps you healthy. You meet people, you enjoy it. The only thing I have to always take into account is one of the dogs. There's always one of the dogs, sadly, they're only with us about 10, 12 years. Maybe if you're lucky, a bit older, but then they won't be able to do any hiking. So you have to take into account their condition. Rebel, he's like super fit now because he's a young dog. But Stella, she's been with me through hikes and travels and everything. And we've done so many adventures. And she used to be like him, like a greyhound, But she's grown old and she's getting weary. So I have to be loyal to her like she's been loyal to me. But so that's the story of me. And as I say, please no messages, oh, you poor thing. Please no messages, oh, you had such a bad time. I believe in life. It molds you, you know what I mean? So we all look at people and we think, they've had a better life than me. Or they've got more than me. Everyone suffers, trust me. It's what makes you, it's part of life. We all suffer in different ways. Some might have mental health problems. Some people might have health problems. Some people might lose people, because of bereavements and all that. It's what molds us and makes us. And I've lost quite a good few people, close friends for the forces, as I say, a partner. And I lost a very good friend only a few years ago, which did touch me a hell of a lot because we were close. We're like brother and sister. And it was very touching times. I remember going to see her laid out and coming out that day into bright sunshine and said to myself, I should be grateful because my friend is never going to get to do this, And that's what I'm saying. That's why I do what I do. Yes, I have rabbits on sometimes. Yes, I don't know, maybe people might think I'm eccentric or a bit crazy at times, but honest, I love everything I do. I'm very happy. And, as I say, I don't want to post myself on the films or the videos. It's not me, not my kind of thing. Don't want to do that. It's my training, my livelihood, and how I brought up. We didn't stick our faces on cameras, you know what I mean? We just got on with what we did. So hence why I don't want to plaster myself over the videos. I don't feel comfortable doing it, and I don't want to do it. So the dogs are the stars, and the views are the stars, as you can understand. The landscape is what I want people to be interested in, and the tracks. And I'm trying to help people because one day when I'm gone, you know what I mean? I'm hoping people still see the videos and say, oh yeah, that place, it looks good. You know what I mean? So I hope I'm doing some good by pointing out. But I always worry about people doing things on the safety aspect that at the end of the day, they might take risks. I don't want you to take risks. I want you to make sure you've got compass, the protection gear, you know, the waterproofs and all that. I want you to be sensible. I don't want you just to follow my track because you've seen me do it and you think you can do it. You know, it ain't going to work out. As you've now seen, I was doing things at 9 and 10 that a lot of people wouldn't do in 20 or 30 or maybe 40 years. You know what I mean? So my body and the way I do things is hardened. You know what I mean? I was carrying packs at 16 or 17, weighing 100 pounds with a rifle and ammunition and grenades and stuff like that. I mean, it took two people to pull us up off the ground. You couldn't step off the ground yourself. You had that much weight on you. So, and I've always done it. And hence why I had arthritis in the knees and all that, and keep myself going, because otherwise I'd seize out like Stella. So that's the story. I hope it's explained a lot. I hope people understand me a bit better, you know what I mean? Because instead of me just plastering videos on showing hiking and all that, and they go, who is this guy? What is this guy? You know, who is he? He talks like an idiot. I don't deny I probably do. But at the end of the day, I want people to understand, see where I'm coming from, and understand that I do know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's the story for tonight. I will do this in future. I'll give you different stories. I'll give you a ghost story next time. Right, better go.